Welcome to Redmill. You join us in northwestern France. We're in the heart of Brittany, and yeah, you sort of join us here on a really mature 16th century lake. You know, it's really an old lake. It's sort of 400-500 years old, I believe. Excavated sort of way back when for peat, and then it's been extended a bit further, sort of at this top end that you can see behind me, just sort of for the fishing, make it a little bit bigger. But the main body of the lake, it goes back, you know, way back when. But yeah, due to that, you know, it's absolutely beautiful. It's got sort of huge overhanging willows, you know, massive oak trees, silt beds, you know, there's a river running through at one end, there's a sluice gate at the other. It's everything that you could ask for from a French venue. It's probably the closest that I've ever known that resembles an English lake. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's all you can ask for when you're coming sort of over the border to fish in France. And obviously not to mention the fish that this venue holds, to be fair. You know, they're all dark, black, big, scaly fish. Don't get me wrong, there's a few sort of French type lucky fish, but 60% of his stock here are all dark black, and they're absolute stunners. So hopefully over the course of this week, sort of between the 5 of us that have come today, we'll be able to winkle a few out for you. Unfortunately, it's the first afternoon already now. We sort of arrived yesterday afternoon. I didn't get much time to film yesterday. We arrived at about 12 o'clock, and obviously me and Matty know Darren and Yvonne quite well. You know, we're quite heavily involved with some of the work that goes on in the close season, so we come over, you know, quite regularly to this venue. You know, do a bit of desilting, tree felling, you know, repairing pegs, things like that. So obviously when we first arrived, we sort of spent a few hours with them socialising, catching up, you know, having a chat, seeing the dog, seeing all the other animals that she seems to keep these days. But yeah, you know, it's always nice to catch up with them. So yeah, I mean, eventually after that, we all ended up in the supermarket. So obviously, you know, you get your essentials for the week: your milk, your bread, your biscuits. You know, you can't have a brew without your biscuits. So we headed to the supermarket. We got back at about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then we sort of unloaded, headed to the swims that we was after. We'd already sort of pre-arranged the swims that we wanted to fish. Like I said, me and Matty have been here a while now. We've 4 or 5 times we've probably fished it, and the lads that we've come with have only fished it once, maybe twice before. So we let them have sort of the first choice of the swims. So like I said, we're all unloaded. We're all in the sort of relevant swims. I've ended up in a swim known as Boom. It's sort of at the south end of the lake. It certainly isn't my number one choice of swim. But like I said, given that, you know, I was quite honest and I let the other guys sort of take first choice, it's okay. You know, it commands a decent sort of area of the lake. It doesn't hold too much water. There's a big willow tree to my left and a big alder to my right. So I've not really got much casting distance, but I do command sort of between the 2 islands. So if there's any fish that are mooching around, passing through, hopefully I'll be able to pick one of them up. You know, it might be sort of single pop-ups or things like that, but heavy baiting's not the way to go. But I spoke to Darren sort of when we were catching up about an hour ago, and he did say that there's an old stream bed, sort of one of the originals that runs right through the islands. So Darren sort of said, you know, get out in the boat, take the prodding stick, see if you can go and find it. So he sort of butchered me up a stick with, you know, level markers on, which was always quite helpful. So I've been out in the boat. I've been able to sort of locate it. You know, he did say that you won't catch many fish from this spot, which I am aware of. But the bigger fish certainly tend to come out from this area. But yeah, I mean, that being said, you know, we bumped into the supermarket. We bumped into the gentleman who fished here last week. at the supermarket earlier, and unfortunately he and the fella who was in double blanked for the full 7 days. So I think it's going to be a tough week ahead. You know, it's not rained as well for about 4 weeks now. So yeah, I think we're really up against it. You know, the air pressure's 1030, sort of rising to 1040, sort of toward midweek. So we're really up against it. But that being said, the swim on the opposite side to me, pads, I think. Dave was in there 2 years ago now, and he managed to catch lumpy, which, you know, for one you don't know, is one of the bigger fish in the lake. Who did 57 sort of last year. So yeah, it'd be nice if we could sort of catch a few bigger ones for the cameras. But make no mistake, you know, there's a fish that I know quite well called the camper common. She's been around for a while, but she's the character fish definitely that Redmill holds. Big, 50 odd pounds, she sort of sits around, and yeah, she's the one to have, to be fair. Matty was fortunate enough to catch her the last few times that we've been, and so yeah, I mean, if I can dig up some footage, I'll sort of input that here. But yeah, I mean, she comes from boom quite a lot, sort of throughout the year. So yeah, I'd like to see if I can get the camper common out. Yeah, moving on. We've got Claude with us this week. You know, Claude's a scarecrow. It was a last-minute idea. We sort of found them at the Cheshire services. So we invested in Claude and decided early on that whoever has the biggest fish gets to have the scarecrow sort of joining them in the swim, so they're not on their own. Yeah, apart from that, hopefully it's me, but you never know. Yeah, I don't really sort of have any set targets really for this week. Try and get a bit of footage, update how we're gonna happen. You know, we've all had a walk round. I've had a walk round my margins, sort of left and right, see if I can see any fish. I mean, there doesn't seem to be anything at the minute. Obviously, it's early days yet, but I think I'm going to cover all my bases with the islands at the moment. I'm going to focus on probably sort of sticking one left to the island in front of the cut swim, one smack bang in the middle, sort of where I went out in the boat earlier on, and then one maybe just to the aerator, which happens to be on the corner of my bigger island to my right hand side. So yeah, I mean, at the minute I'm just sort of trying to nick a fish. I'm certainly not going for the heavy baiting approach just yet. You know, it's quite early on in the season. I generally don't think that the fish are going to be getting their heads down just as yet. I think I'm going to go for the sort of singles approach. I'm going to see how the lads get on with their sort of baiting tactics, and then obviously I'll take it further and sort of adjust things through the week. So yeah, I mean, I'll update you again in sort of a few days tomorrow if anything happens sort of sooner than that really. But yeah, there's not much really that I need to sort of say. I hope we get a good film together for you. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's all about the film, I think, this year, especially from my point of view. But if I could get a few good fish out, especially the camper common, I'd love to get her out for the film. So yeah, without sort of any further ado from me, I'll pass you on to Matty, who's fishing over in the frog swim up at the top end by himself. So yeah, I'll update you again and see you in a few days.
Well, good morning. You join me here on a beautiful morning, in fact, on Frog Swim. I'm actually on this swim for this session, mainly because I fancied a bit of a challenge this time round. Last couple of times I've fished Long Chuck Swim, which is at the other end of the lake. Really successful sessions, to be honest with you. And this time I fancied a bit more of a challenge, something different. It's a completely different fishing scenario than the last one, so fingers crossed we'll have something this week, but yeah, definitely a bit more of a challenge for me this week. I know it's not fished very often, to be honest with you. The lake owners told me this, and you've got to look at the catch reports as well. But saying that, last week a lad was in here and he had 630s out of this swim, so quite a bit of a change from what normally goes on at this end of the lake. So a bit of confidence building straight away there to start off my session. We arrived here on Saturday morning. We got the ferry over Friday night from Portsmouth to St Malo, about an hour drive from St Malo port to the lake, and we got here as usual, had a wander around the lake, chose our swims. I thought they kind of chose this before we got out here, to be honest with you. Since we've arrived, not much happened. I didn't actually cast in till this morning, let the swim rest after knowing it had been quite hammered through the week with 630s coming out. It's just not what normally happens at this end of the lake. So I've been baiting up, let it rest the night, and I've cast in this morning. Probably for the rest of the week, I'm going to be looking at a slow bait approach, to be honest with you, not putting too much in. Kind of looking at showing fish, to be honest with you. With not fishing this end of the lake, I don't know much about it, so I'm looking for the fish to show, and I'm going to be casting straight on showing fish, if I'm honest. But for now, I'm going to leave you there, and I'll hopefully see you throughout the week.
Good evening. It's the second night now into our week-long session. I didn't cast in obviously last night, you know, with all the sort of previous anglers, baits and everything else. I thought it was quite important just to let the swim settle. I know he blanks and everything, but I thought it was quite important just to let the sort of fish mooch around, sort of take up the last of the baits. So yeah, I sort of cast in this morning. Not a lot's happened, to be honest. There's not really been any fizzing, nothing showing. It's all been down the top end of the lake, which was sort of kind of expected really, especially during, you know, the sun got up, so they got into the, they kind of pushed into frogs a little bit, but they was just sort of cruising on the surface. It was probably 22, 23 degrees this afternoon. So yeah, I sort of wound in, got everything right, clipped up and got ready for tonight really. So we've been to the cabin, we've had tea, and I've come back and got my rods out. This update's a little bit later than I sort of initially planned. I've just been photographing an absolute stunning 31 pound mirror for Dave, so that was quite a good achievement, to be fair. Dave's managed to already catch 3 now, I think, 330s. So Dave's doing really well, which was expected in a long truck swim. I mean, you only need to check the catch reports to see that long truck's, you know, quite a productive swim. So I mean, there's an old dam wall, which is the original, which is tree lined. It's absolutely stunning, and the fish just hold up there. So it's good angling by Dave, and Ash has caught 2 as well from the same, just a bit further down in Sluice. So yeah, I mean, both have done well to sort of catch fish from there. But like I said, it's expected that we sort of anticipated that the fish would probably come from that area of the lake. Like I said, they sort of hung up in frogs this afternoon while the temperature was high, so hopefully Matt has been able to keep them there for tonight. But we're both optimistic, you know. We feel that we've got everything in the right spots, ready for tonight. I mean, I've been baiting sort of right the way between the islands, so if anything's coming in between the islands, I'd like to think I can nick a bite. I've got one on a pop-up, one on a bottom bait, one on a wafter, so I've got literally every basis covered. One in 3 foot, one in 7 foot, one in 4 foot, and I've just been putting the bait in, you know, slow and often in between there. So like I said, there's been nothing showing in the middle just yet, but I think, like you said, they start to cruise at night, they start to pick things up. It has been predominantly night water that I know of sort of the past few years. So like you said, you know, we'll keep optimistic, let's say, for tonight. But like I said, it's the first night that I've put my rods in, so like I said, I wouldn't be expecting anything, but hopefully the next time you see me we'll have a fish on the mat. But like I said, if not, I'll update you again in the morning, and let you know what sort of anything's going on. Good morning. Sort of at Monday morning now. It always feels better to be fishing on a Monday morning, I suppose, not being at work. A bit of a different than your sort of overnights, Friday, Saturday. I've been up since the crack of dawn this morning. I'd be lying if I said that, you know, I was up for the right reasons. It was an absolutely beautiful sunrise this morning. It just sort of come up over the willows over the far side behind Ash. It was absolutely stunning. So yeah, nothing's really happened too much last night. Claude's managed to stay in my swim, so like I did promise that I'd like to see if a fish was on the mat. Well, I did. I've managed a 36 pounder. The bad news is it's not what I'm after. It was actually a catfish, so Unfortunately, it is enough to keep Claude in my swim, but in my opinion it doesn't count. I wasn't actually fishing for him. But what can you do? Dave's managed another 30 again, so I think that's his third fish now. In an absolutely stunning common, you know, really dark, really black at the top, you know, absolutely beautiful looking fish. He seems to be picking out all the stunners this week. Again, he's took that from, you know, long truck, which is, you know, it's a good swim, let's be fair. I mean, I'm sort of feeling him a bit up against it, to be honest. Matty's managed to have one up in frogs as well. So yeah, it's great angling by Matty, to be fair. It can be quite difficult at times up at frogs. But he's chucking quite a long way out to the far margin for Matty, so that's sort of producing quite well. I think his was about £22. Nice little mirror, to be fair. He's done really well to pull that one out. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot really that's happening. Yeah, I mean, as far as today goes, I think, I mean, Ash and Dave have been putting in quite a lot of bait, to be honest. So I think, you know, my approach, I think, is going to change. I'm really going to sort of put the bait in today. You know, I'm going to sort of put in 12 mils, 16, 18s, all the washed out. So, you know, I'm really going for the full hog today. I just think that if there's any fish that's cruising between the islands, I'm probably going to have to be able to sort of, if they are cruising, to try and hold them there rather than just pick them off one by one, which is what I was sort of planning to do for the first time around, which it's not really happening. But I'm also repositioning my rod. I'm going to fish one really tight to the island. It's only about 3 foot deep, but I think that if they are hugging the island sort of just to come in, I might pick the odd fish up there. Again, it's only Monday, so we're still quite hopeful of what's to carry on for the rest of the week. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing really been showing, to be honest, so we're sort of struggling on that sense to sort of see where they are. But like you said, it is April, so we're sort of seeing if they're waking up or actually getting their heads down. The air pressure again throughout the week, it's you know, it's quite high, so looking at the end of the week, conditions aren't going to be great, but like you said, it's early doors yet, so we've still got a bit of time to go. So apart from that change here and there, nothing drastic. But yeah, I mean, I'll show you sort of Matty's fish in a minute. And yeah, I'll probably get the rods back out for today, see what happens, and I'll update you later on.
Well, good morning / afternoon. It's about dinner time now. Not much to report really. Things down the other end of the lake, as expected, they're going a lot better than up here. Couple of fish out, 30s to be honest with you for most of them. And I was able to nick one in the night, which I'm quite happy with. They're showing that they're feeding, they're coming in, but still not as happy as I would like to be honest with you. I've changed things up a bit. Instead of casting off the bank, I'm actually going into the water now, wading in, finding that I can get much better on the spots that I want to be. Move from the right hand side to the left hand side on my far rod, hoping that that'll hopefully produce a fish. There's no fish showing, to be honest with you, so it's kind of a guessing game at the minute, especially with the no real features, just all silt. But we'll see what happens. We'll keep going. Still trickling the bait in as usual. So yeah, we'll see what happens really, and I'll report later on.
The story you are about to hear is true.
So it's the morning after the night before cliche. I'm probably going to go about 24 hours and start sort of from early last night. It was total carnage last night, to be brutally honest.
Here, only the names have been changed. The story you are about to hear true. Only the names have been changed.
So yeah, I'll sort of start sort of early on. We just finished sort of having our evening meals up at the cabin. We had a bit of a social and got back to all the swims and everything, managed to get all the rods out. And then we're sort of all chatting on the walkie-talkies between ourselves. Basically just, you know, how the weather dropped, you know, clear skies, sort of full moon, all that. It was really, really cold. And then obviously Ash and Dave actually managed to catch one sort of just after. So yeah, they sort of took two, so it was sort of back onto the walkie-talkies, having a chat about how everyone was feeling. A bit optimistic for the night, going into the night. And then yeah, it probably got to, oh, I don't know, maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, something like that. And yeah, basically, I was just sat on the laptop doing a bit of editing, some of the footage and everything. It was, you know, it was quite dark, it was quite quiet. And then all of a sudden, you know, my middle rod just literally melted off. And when I mean melted off, I mean it melted off. You know, I chucked my laptop down, I'm bumbling around, trying to get my boots on, head torches around my neck, you know, trying to get out. Typical run in the middle of the night, to be honest with you. So yeah, eventually I got everything sorted. Got out, one shoe on, head torch sort of this side of my head, you know, all the rest of it. Eventually I got everything sorted, and then I saw a light coming to my ear down my margin, and it was my dad, obviously in double next door. And at which point he arrived and the rod's bent over. The clutch, you know, the clutch was fairly tight. But you know, the fish was still just absolutely kiting left, and at which point, you know, it started to go under the willow to my left. So I called pretty early on for the boat. So obviously sooner or later my dad come round in the boat, at which point Matty had seen the commotion, he come round, and then sort of sooner or later me and my dad were out in the boat chasing off down towards the lone swim, and no signs at all of this fish sort of stopping. But yeah, eventually we sort of went out into the middle of the lake, we were chasing this fish around the islands, and eventually we sort of managed to get him into open water. And yeah, you know, sort of 10 minutes later we managed to sort of get it on the light where the head torches were. And sort of, yeah, about 10 minutes had passed when we sort of first saw it, you know, big flick of the tail, so that sort of explains where I'm going with it. I'd hooked another catfish. So yeah, another very 10 minutes, fighting under the stars and everything. He managed to start tiring, but you know, me and my dad sort of tried to net him a few times, and you know what catfish are like, you get him in and he tries to swim backwards, but eventually we managed to try and get him in. My dad, you know, he had the net and he's just about to lift it up. He had the head in, he had half of the body, but the just back end of his tail, it just wasn't for going in. So I'm shouting to the guys back on the back, I'm going to need a bigger net, I'm going to need a bigger net. So yeah, it was a bit hair-raising, but then eventually the fish managed to swim off and swim backwards, and it just seemed that the fact he touched the net, he had second wind, and then for probably another 20 minutes he's in between the islands and he's up, down, and he's kiting, and then at one point he just seemed to sit in the middle and he just sulked. And I mean, it was an epic fight, to be honest with you. It was absolutely brilliant. Hair-raising at the time, but it was brilliant. So yeah, eventually, after about 20 minutes, time had passed, and then eventually we saw the pink inferno pop up in the corner of his mouth. As he started to get tired. So yeah, with a bit of persuading for the sort of third or fourth time, my dad managed to put the oar down, and he's gone out with the net, and he's managed to get it under him, and I've sort of dropped the rod at the last minute, bent his tail around, and he's scooped him up, and we've got him. So obviously I've let out an almighty roar like you do in the middle of the boat. So but yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not a catfish angler by any means, and I don't really often appreciate catching catfish, to be honest with you, but this one was pretty special. You know, it was one of the best fights of my life, and sort of being in the boat with my old man, it's memories that you're probably never going to get back, to be honest. So yeah, sort of cut a long story short, we managed to try and row back into the bank of lights, by at which point everyone was pretty much round lighting up the lake with all the lights and the red torches and everything else. So we managed to hoist him onto the weigh stand, and unfortunately it only went 43 pounds, but to me it was still the biggest fish that I'd ever caught, the catfish anyway. So yeah, it wasn't great from a carp perspective, but it was a good fight. So I mean, the commotion of that, it probably ruined my swim. So yeah, you know, as far as today goes, I'm probably going to leave the rods out of the water all day. I mean, the fight off that was just too great that it's probably not worth trying to put some more rods back out. So I think my plan for today is to sort of fill the spot back up, because when we had the cat out, I mean, it was excreting what was only remnants of the inferno boilers everywhere. So I think it was a matter of putting 2 or 3 kilo back out over the spots, and hopefully that if there was any carp there, that, you know, by the end of the night we'll be able to bring them back by tonight, sorry, and when I get the rods out. Matt has had an absolute stunning 37 pound mirror. from up in Frogs. It's a bit of a repeat capture for us. It's a fish that I had a few years ago at 35, so it's putting on the pounds. But for him to take 3 fish from up in Frogs, you know, it's a fantastic achievement, to be fair, and credit where credit's due to him, to be honest. He's worked really hard. You know, Matty's been up every morning at 5 o'clock, you know, looking for fish, baiting up. He's been having, you know, alarms on his phone every 2 hours so he can, you know, right time, trickle the bait in, you know, regular intervals and all the rest of it. So, you know, fair play to Matty, and my hat off goes to him. He's worked really hard for his bites this week because they've been really quite, you know, difficult conditions. So I think, you know, he deserves credit for that. So yeah, I mean, you know, I hope that that's not the last of the action that he gets, to be honest. But yeah, it's sort of midweek now. The conditions still aren't great, but hopefully we can manage a few more between us. What else, I think Dave's managed to wrinkle one out as well. I think he had another common last night at about 3 in the morning, just after the catfish again. He seems to be getting amongst these stunning commons, but I don't think Dave's had a poor looking fish yet. The good sign to that is obviously, you know, the fish are feeding. What else? My dad's struggling in double. There's an awful crosswind that just hasn't seemed to have disappeared. It's been here for 3 days, north, south, whatever. It just seems to be howling into double, and it's making everything a constant struggle, to be honest. So yeah, because we've been there for 4 days, usually sort of banking up on double, he's decided that, you know, over the past sort of 2-3 days there's been fish crashing like crazy on the other side of the island, sort of Longchuck and Pads side, just sort of in front of an old alder tree. So obviously I think my dad's going to make the move this morning over to Pad Swim. It just gives him a better angle at trying to get some fish out from over there. I mean, you'd be kind of daft not to. It's the only signs of fish that we've seen regularly over the course of the week. Apart from that, I think that's all me, to be honest. I probably won't update you again, obviously unless something else happens, but like I said, it's only Wednesday morning, and you know, we're slowly starting to run out of time for a big carp, but like you said, you know, I'll try and focus on catching a fish for the next sort of 24-48 hours, as opposed to getting some filming done. But you never know, you know, if you see me again you might see a carp. If not, I'll do a bit of update around the lake. But yeah, hopefully you might see me with a carp in my hands. If not, I'll update you again in a few days.
Afternoon, you join me here on Wednesday now. It's mid-morning. Quite a bit to report, to be honest with you. It's been slow all around the lake, but I've had 3 fish out now. A 21, 29 and last night a 37, absolute chunk of a fish. Took off about 3:30 in the morning, ripped off. It's been on the same rod as the other 3, which is on the far margin, fished in between some willows. Last night was the first sign I've actually seen of any fish showing at this end of the lake. It had jumped out, big crash out in the margin, put a rod literally straight on its head, thought it had to go. Wasn't too confident after about 2 o'clock. Jack had a cat quite early on in the night and it literally tore through the swim. Massive fight, quite a bit of disturbance on the lake, to be honest with you, so I kind of thought that would be it for the night. But lo and behold, after 3 this morning, alarm went into absolute meltdown and landed that beaut. Weather's been quite tough so far this week. High pressure, to be honest with you. And as you can see, it's absolutely glorious sunshine, clear skies, and then temperature dropping as soon as the sun goes down to really, really cold conditions, to be honest with you. You can see that it is affecting the fish. They've gone from showing themselves to, as soon as that sun's gone, no fish signs at all on the lake, to be honest with you. So, but they are still feeding through the night, not much through the day. I don't think anyone's had any fish actually during daylight hours, but they are showing themselves during the day, just don't seem to be feeding as much. But saying that, there's still odd ones feeding through the night, and that's what counts. So the bait's still going in, we're still persevering, and fingers crossed on the next update I'll have something a bit more to tell you, maybe one of the big gales, eh? Let's see what happens.
Right, well, while the guys are cooking tea in the cabin, I just thought we'd sort of spend 5 minutes to talk a bit about the lake, to be honest with you. Just a bit more information obviously on what it has to offer and everything, if you're sort of a group of anglers looking to book on, obviously, you know, as a French holiday venue, whether it's once a year or you fancy a weekend away or whatever. I just thought I'd sort of look along them, to be honest. First, to sort of, you know, from my point of view, I don't think it's an easy lake. I think if you're someone who, you know, might be first new to carp fishing or something like that, I probably wouldn't recommend it initially, you know, to sort of start fishing. You know, you can expect a lot of money and obviously for no reward. So I think that if you're sort of put off by the more difficult lakes, I'd probably try and avoid Redmill at the best of times. But I think if you're quite experienced, you're quite comfortable at casting to sort of 70 to 100 yards, then I'd definitely consider, you know, Redmill as a venue for you, to be honest with you.
The silt is deep in places, but don't let that put you off. We know from being here, the past, the carp in here absolutely love getting their heads down in the silt, and we've fished in places that are 5 or 6 foot deep in silt, and you're still getting carp coming in feeding. That's when you can see them fizzing, proper getting their heads down and proper feeding in. So yeah, don't let it put you off. But obviously, if you're not a big fan of fishing in silt and stuff like that, I wouldn't say that you're going to enjoy fishing here. But yeah, it's a cracking place. Pegs absolutely brilliant, really spacious, angler friendly, which is brilliant. You haven't got to go try and driving your pegs into the swim. Really dead easy, loads of room for a bivvy. Just a cracking place to bivvy up and spend your week, really, isn't it? Another thing to add is the fact that Dad and the owners added some weigh bar stations. Absolutely fantastic idea. Not only for just weighing the fish, but for little things like hanging your air dry bags over. You haven't got to go putting them in trees and worrying about rats getting to them or anything like that.
Put your waders over.
Waders over them, yeah. We've had the waders on them this week, keeping them dry. Yeah, it's a really cracking idea, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think, you know, another thing to add as well, just about Darren, you know, he's a really clued up guy. He's not some guy who's, you know, got a bit of money and he's splashing it, you know, on a playground. I think, you know, I mean, Darren and Yvonne both are
superb people, really nice, down to earth, lovely people who literally, I know when people say some people can't do enough for you, that's definitely them down to a T, to be honest with you, I'd say.
It is, to be fair. I mean, you know, Darren will do anything for you. Yvonne provides you with all sorts of food packages as well, so, you know, if you're the type of angler who doesn't really want to come and sort of, you know, feed yourself, for a better expression, you don't want to sit on a single gas stove and cook in your bivvy, there's a food package available. You know, all the information's on the website, so if you need to, you know, you can just look at sort of what meals. You can pick days if you want as well, which is a great thing, to be honest.
That's a good thing. You don't have to have a full package. You can actually pick and choose. They honestly can't do enough for you, and like Jack was saying, it doesn't have to be about a food package. If you are the type of person who wants to drive and survive, you don't even have to sit in your bivvy all day cooking on a stove, because the cabin behind us, that comes completely free of charge. That's included when you actually book the lake.
Yeah, the cabin's a great facility, to be honest, especially if you don't want to cook, or, you know, you don't want to cook in the bivvy but you don't want a food package. You know, the cabin's brilliant. It's a sort of prefabricated wooden cabin, but, you know, it's situated away overlooking the lake. It's really nice. Like, it's full kitchen, fully supplied, pots, pans, cutlery. You know, sometimes the odd angler leaves things behind, so you get a bit of extra food as well.
That's it, yeah.
But like, you know, it's full of all
running hot water's the great thing in there.
Hot water. It's not drinkable because it comes from the stream. There is sort of drinking water available from the house, but it provides you with enough for cleaning up, cooking, boiling especially. So that's quite good. And Darren sort of thought quite well ahead that he's equipped it all with English plug sockets as well. So, like, so
that's a massive plus, yeah.
Yeah, you can bring your head torches down during the day, laptops, phones, I don't know, whatever you sort of bring for a week-long session, charge it up through the day and take it back to swims at night. So
yeah,
so that's quite good.
Definitely, seriously is. Kind of going on to other facilities they have here now. You've also got the shower room, which is a newly thing that's come in for the past, that's about 2 years now it's been there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant idea. There's 3 toilets and 2 showers, and it's part of the house, but it's not part of the house, so you're not wandering through the house to actually get there. You come out to the lake, it's straight down some steps and you're there. It's brilliant. 2 big showers. There's a little radiator as well if you want to dry any clothes off. Speaking of drying clothes off, if it's been chucking it down all week, Yvonne's more than happy to actually wash some clothes and dry them for you, so if that's ever required, if you've had some really rough
just
weather.
Like, it just goes to show, you know, that Darren and Yvonne are really here to help the anglers, to be honest. And
That's it.
It's everything that you'd ever need from a French lake, I think.
It is.
And they've even gone to the lengths that they've purchased the house next door as well. The neighbours moved, so they purchased that probably 6 months ago.
It'll be about 6 months ago now, yeah, I'd say, yeah.
And yeah, they're sort of renovating that, so for the angler who sort of wants to come bring the missus, I don't know why I'd want to do that, but you know, if you're the angler who wants a bit of a family visit, you fish during the day while the missus goes shopping or whatever in Brittany, you know, it's probably a good idea, to be honest, and you can rent that out for the week, or soon to be rent it out for the week. But
I'd say even if you're not after the fishing, to be honest with you, I don't know how you wouldn't, but I think that's what they're kind of aiming for now, is you can also have it as a holiday now, rather than just a fishing venue. It's also a bit of a holiday, but yeah, it really is. I can't stress enough how great the plate is, to be honest with you.
From what I've seen from it, it's going to look well smart, to be honest with you. You know, they're spending a bit of money on it, making it all nice. There's going to be a swimming pool in the back. It's going to be nice, it really is. It's not, you know, it's not just a let's get it done and ready. It's going to be really nice to put some proper solid wooden beams in that he's all milled himself, you know, on site. It's going to be a proper job,
It's got character. I think that's what we can say about it. It's definitely got character to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the whole, you know, as a package, it's one of the best looking lakes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's not your typical French Open sort of.
No, it's definitely not.
You
know,
no. Ticket. It's different, and it's as close as
it's as close as a British water you could get. Not just by the look of it, but the fish. You've only got to take a look at some of the catch pictures online and stuff like that. You can see that it's not just full of French lumps. There's actually some real characters in there, some really old fish.
I think the thing I would say is that if you are sort of looking to book this kind of venue, especially Redmill in particular, is I'd book it quite early. I know some of the sort of April and September slots, beginning and end of the seasons, that they book up 2-3 years in advance.
Turning customers every year, isn't it?
Yeah, during the summer's not as busy, but obviously, you know, opening season and end of the season are sort of prime spots, so you need to book well in advance.
You've only got to look at this year, mate. I mean, we're in April now, and there's no spaces left for the rest of this year, and quite a lot filled for next year. So yeah, if it's definitely a trip you're planning on doing, then have a look online. He does keep it up to date, so you can have a look at the availability online, which is really handy if you want. If you're looking to plan and you don't really want to get in contact first, you just want to have a little bit of an idea, then yeah, that's really helpful, to be honest with you.
Yeah, if there's any more information that sort of any of you guys need that we've not covered, or if you are looking, you know, you can always get in contact with us. But we do have a sort of section on this venue, particularly on our website. So if you just want to go over to our website and go on the French Connection page, you're more than welcome to get all the information that you ever need from there. And there's a direct link to Redmill's website direct on that page as well. But yeah, I mean, for now we've been sort of unsociable enough for the last 5 minutes just to have a bit of a chat about
some fishing done, pal.
Yeah, we'll go and have some tea sort of while we're cooking, and then we'll go and get the rods out for the night. Yeah. Thank you. Right, so it's Thursday evening now. I know I said previously that I wouldn't update you for a few days if sort of, unless something had happened. Well, I'm going to explain what happened today. There's a reason why I'm doing this sort of feature, if you will, at night in my bivvy. I've only just got my rods out and it's about 9:45. Today's just been ridiculous. It just came alive. So yeah, I mean, last night, sort of Wednesday night, it was Baltic. The weather was freezing, typical northern weather. It got to about -1. We sort of woke up and it was all iced over. There was frost on the bivvy. Part of the lake was a bit iced in the margins. It was freezing cold last night. But that being said, Dave managed to winkle one out. I think it was about £27 mirror. But yeah, to save that, my dad's managed to catch one at £37. So yeah, I was over the moon for that. You know, he did really well. He noticed that he needed to move from double sort of quite early on Tuesday. And like I said, he spent one night in there and he had a 37. And obviously not to mention that just after breakfast he'd put the rods out. They'd been out about 15 minutes. And he's managed a £40 1-ounce mirror. So, you know, less than 24 hours and he's managed to catch a 37 and a 40. So yeah, he's definitely turned his fortunes around by moving to the end of the lake. I think not where I'm going wrong, but I think that the fish just aren't at this end of the lake at all. I genuinely thought there was a bit of chance sort of the fish coming between the islands, but I think from my perspective that they're just not there. You know, I think there might be the odd one cruising, but they don't seem to be feeding. They're still crashing quite a lot on the other side of the bank, and I mean it's difficult on this side. But yeah, anyway, we sort of tied a few rigs, me and Matty, this afternoon, or late morning after breakfast, sort of after we'd done a bit of photography for some of the fish that were caught this morning. Yeah, so we were sat socialising on bivvy, and then one of the sort of delts has just gone off, sort of at the far end of the lake. So yeah, it's I don't really know how to describe my emotions about it, but after about 10-15 minutes, let's say, Dave's let off an almighty roar, and it sort of it was a gutner for me personally, but I'm over the moon for Dave. So yeah, he managed to pull the net cord under the big common that I've been after. So yeah, the mugfish was finally tripped up. So yeah, Dave managed to winkle her. I think she went 51 this time, so a little bit underweight for her normally, but you know, it's quite early on in the season yet. So yeah, I'm over the moon for Dave. He's worked really hard in sluice, so he deserves that. So yeah, we sort of spent a few minutes doing some really good pictures, and then we ended up in the water doing some water shots and all the rest of it for Dave. So there's me and my dad and everyone had come round, and then my dad's rod has just torn off while we're in the water with the mugfish. So yeah, I mean the rod's bent right round, and it's hit into it, and he thought it was snagged, but this fish was just sat on the bottom, you know, big, strong, powerful fish, just sat, and he just sort of slowly mooching around, and he's just taking line. And yeah, fast forward a little bit, he's managed to get him out in the open water in front of the swim. I mean, I already had my waders on because I was taking pictures of mugfish for Dave, so I sort of took the net, I went out, and then I think there was Ash and Matty and the guys behind my dad who was playing him. And yeah, he took one roll just in front of the net, and they've all sort of shouted Lumpy at the same time. Yeah, I mean, you probably won't know, but Lumpy's 3rd or 4th biggest in the lake, I think. So depending on the time of year, it can be, 2nd biggest at best. So from then on in, it was quite hairy. I think when you know what fish you're fishing for, it can be quite exciting. But I was just as nervous for my old man as sort of worse than him, I think. But yeah, he's managed to come up. He's sort of looked a bit tired, and I've just waded out a bit too far. I'm only, don't get the nickname Titch for nothing, so all the water's ended up in the waders. But it's been worth it because I managed to get the cord under him, and an almighty roll's gone off. It was unbelievable, and what a moment to experience. So yeah, we managed to catch Lumpy again because Dave had him last year at 54. So yeah, we sort of spent a bit of time with that. And this time she only went 53, but it's a PB for my dad. And so, personally, it's not about the size. The experience of being here with my dad and, sharing experiences and sort of the fact he'd moved and he'd worked really hard in double for a few days, blanking, and then he's moved on and he's managed to catch it. It's a real achievement. So I was proud to be a part of that, to be fair. So yeah, I think it went quiet for a few bits after that. We all ended up having a bit of a social. Darren, again, the owner, came round with a few beers, sort of celebratory and all the rest of it. So yeah, we ended up in tea. We've had a bit of scran, come back. Matty's had the rod out for 5 minutes, and the willow. Oh, that's me, and I think. No, just a liner. First action I've had for a while. Yeah, so Matty's chucked one out to the far willow, and yeah, he's managed to catch one of the stockies that were put in a few years ago. I think it went at about £14, and he's had it at £24 now. So he's doing well in frogs. I've already said it before, but I've got to give him credit for that. It's a hard swim sometimes at frogs. It's quite shallow. It commands a good area of the lake, it does, but it's really shallow, and sometimes the fish don't always get their heads down to feed. So the fact that he's putting in the effort, he's wading out every single day, and he's wrapping up at like 24 wraps or something. It's quite a way. We only £3 test curve rod, so he's doing well to sort of hit that every time, and he's right under the willow, and he's worked it really well. So he deserves that. I don't know if I mentioned, I think either Tuesday night, he had a 41 as well. So yeah, I apologise if I've said that twice, but yeah, he took a £41 mirror on Tuesday night. Yeah, Tuesday night. So yeah, he's an exceptional angling from Matty, to be fair. But yeah, as far as it goes from me, been very quiet. The odd liner, but to be fair, I've been getting quite a lot of liners all week. I genuinely think it's just the cats in my area, I really do. I've had 2 cats, and last night I even managed to hook a zander. So it's one of them. You try your best sharpening your hooks and putting the baits out right on the spots and baiting up, and you go to the effort, and you end up with like a £6 zander or something. I've never had one before, so it's nice to catch one, but it's not why I'm here. I'm trying to get a carp, and the lake seems to be picking up as well at the moment. Everyone seems to be bagging a few. 2 of the big girls came out within the space of 15 minutes of each other this afternoon. So there's a few back up, high 40s, couple of low 50s that I'd still like to try and salvage a session with. But it's looking bleak. I've spent 5 days now in boom. My only other option probably is to move into double, but my old man spent 4 days in there blanking, and I've been in there before, and it doesn't seem to be working. So it's not like I've not fished this big floor and I'm running out of ideas. I'm fishing exactly the same as everybody else, the same as what I've previously caught on. I generally just think it's a matter of that the fish aren't here. It's that time of year where the catfish are waking up, and I think I'm just in catfish heaven, to be honest. I'm in the deep silt bed where they've probably been lying dormant most of the winter, cruising through the deep water. So yeah, I just think I'm picking them up from there. But I've had a little bit of a change of tactic sort of this afternoon, before I cast the rods in tonight. I changed over from an inline setup into a leg clip. Whether that makes a difference, I have no idea. But yeah, I generally felt that sometimes, because it's really soft silt, that the inline might be dragging my rig a little bit too far into the silt. So I've gone into a leg clip in the hope that it might, you know, might sit above the silt for a better thing. But I have found that the leads that you sort of, your chod rigs and your helicopter rigs, where the lead sort of plummets into the silt and the rig sits on top, don't really do too well, to be honest. I think the fish like grubbing around in the silt, as long as it's not too much in the silt. I think the fish like grubbing around, and I think that's how you tend to catch them up, to be fair. Especially on this venue anyway, that's how I've previously done well. So yeah, whether a leg clip's going to make any difference, I've no idea. But every time I'm casting, I'm putting a bit of foam on, popping it up, keeping it away from the silt. But yeah, there's nothing really else to say from my perspective, to be honest. I mean, the weather again tonight is going really cold. Not as cold as last night. I think it's going to do 1, maybe 2 degrees tonight. We're expected some rain on Sunday, so I think the anglers who are coming next week are going to do really well. But yeah, we're expecting a bit of rain Sunday, sort of after we leave on Saturday morning, which is nice. But yeah, the air pressure's 1039 recently, so it's just been really difficult. I'm probably making excuses now, to be fair, why I've not caught and everybody else has. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all I can put it down to be honest. I'm struggling, let's just say that. But yeah, I'll probably never live it down if I manage to blank on a 7-day session. But you know, the fish out here, and you know, I'll let my dad have, you know, my dad's found the fish, to be fair, so I had to let him have the first dibs on the move over the other side. And you know, he's done well, and there's still just less than 48 hours now to go, so I'd like to see him catch a few more, of course I would. But yeah, again, you know, tomorrow's my last full day, so probably try and get a little bit of filming done, get my rods out nice and early, depending on what happens tonight. But hopefully you'll see me through the night. Might not be with a carp. I generally feel confident in another carp. I hope not, but he's still hoping that a carp will sort of get there first. So yeah, hopefully you'll see me through the night with a carp. If not, we shall see you bright and early in the morning.
You join me here with a bit more news, to be honest with you. I was lucky enough to land a decent fish last night at 41, so yeah, bit of a plus for me really. I've been working hard, to be fair. I've been keeping that swim going as much as possible. That's my 5th fish now out of that swim. Same location as the rest, over the willow. Didn't have any rods in yesterday at all, left them all, thought I'd give the swim a bit of a rest. They haven't been coming up my end at all, to be fair. So I thought, instead of casting in, instead of spooking, just keep the bait going in throughout the day. Set an alarm on my phone, a bit of dedication, every hour and a half. Went round, put about 20 or 30 baits over the spot and kept that going all day long. We all went for tea for about 5-6 o'clock, come back, got the rods on the spot, first cast straight away, bang, straight on it. And it was the first time actually last night that I've seen a fish show on that spot. About 5 minutes before I actually cast the rod in, I fished full out the water, full breach, right under the willows. So obviously Ed's buzzing at this point, thinking they're going to be on it tonight. There was a bit of commotion in the lake before that, so I kind of thought that my chances were ruined. But 3:30 in the morning, alarm absolutely went into meltdown again, and there we go, 41 minute, absolute beautiful fish, buzzing now. That's 5 fish out of that spot, and absolutely chuffed, yeah. So fingers crossed, we'll get maybe another one coming up, we don't know. The fish have got bigger each week for me, so maybe a 50, you just never know, do you? So fingers crossed, and I'm sure if we have anything else, I'll be in touch soon. Happy days.
Stop smiling. Do me, not you, it's him. Right, it's early on Friday morning now. There's just less than sort of 24 hours to try and salvage my session. I've moved into a swim sort of at the top end of the lake known as Gate, next door to Dave, who's sort of been bagging up. I think 3 out of the 4 anglers yesterday all managed to take fish through the night. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer that, you know, the fish have been showing sort of on the far dam side. So I think that I probably might regret not moving a bit earlier. But I think had I moved a little bit earlier, it might have affected the fishing for the rest of the guys, because you know the fish could have sort of moved on and ended up round the other side of the lake. Because at the minute we've sort of got 5 anglers now, all on the same bank. So I'm hoping that won't affect it too much. I've cast 3 rods sort of over to the willows, sort of right in front of my swim. Dave's kindly moved his left rod sort of from sluice anyway, so it gets me a bit more water to command. But yeah, I've cast one onto the margin, and Ash has managed to help me sort of spoon it in. So we're literally just under the willow tree. Sort of same presentation, same rigs, everything else that the lads have been using. So hopefully it might nick me a bite. But yeah, I mean, you never know. But you know, I've got less than 24 hours, so it seems that it's turned into a bit of a great rod race style rather than a week-long session. But yeah, I'll sort of let you know if anything happens sort of through the day. If not, I'm kind of hoping more through the night. But we have to be off for 10 AM tomorrow, so it doesn't leave me much time, but hopefully the move on the last day might salvage me a fish. Right guys, it's Friday night now. We've got to be off sort of 10 o'clock in the morning. It's probably about 10 o'clock now, to be fair, without looking. So yeah, I've got 12 hours before I've actually got to be off the lake. I'm really clutching at straws now, I really am. I moved into Gate sort of earlier on today. I thought this morning. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to produce me a fish sort of pretty much instantly, to be honest. The willows that were in front of me, I've been fishing really tight to them, and I know that they've sort of been producing fish all week, just a bit further along. But yeah, I've not had anything through the day. Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't really know what to suggest. I think this week it's probably beating me a little bit. I've chucked everything that I've got at it, and it's not seemed to have worked. The weather this afternoon was absolutely scorching. It was probably 21, 22 degrees, but I can't really say the fish weren't biting, because my old man managed to have another one, so he's managed to have 5 fish now since his move from double, so he's done well there. Yeah, nothing else happened today. Been quite quiet given the results we've had the past few days. The weather again tonight's going to plummet to probably about 3 or 4 degrees. So I don't know, to be fair, I can make all the excuses in the world. I just generally don't think it's happened this week. It's just one of them, it's just fishing. Pretty poor that I've technically blanked on a week session. But I'll be back, you know, it's just the way it is in fishing. Sometimes it's a luck of the draw, you know, sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. You know, I probably don't regret moving any earlier, because, you know, having 5 anglers all on the same side of the lake, you know, especially, you know, it probably would have just pushed the fish around and it had ruined someone else's fishing. So I don't regret not moving, but I'm still holding on to a little bit of hope that something might happen through the night. From experience, it has predominantly been a night water. So yeah, I'm kind of holding on to that little bit of optimism. I can't really say much more than that, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, worst case, I hope that it's been a good video for you. I'll sort of do my best with a editing and whatnot, and try and get it out fairly soon. And I hope that it turns out to be a good watch, regardless of me not catching. But you know, between us, we've had a few as a group. You know, a group of anglers. You know, we've sort of done quite well on the bait, so it's done well for everybody else, definitely. And I'm really proud of Matty and Frogs. He's done really well. He's managed 5 or 6 fish now, and he's done really well out of there. You know, my old man who sort of struggled in double, who was next to me in boom, he made the move, and I think that it's transformed his week around. You know, he's managed 5, 6 fish now, including Lumpy as well at 53 pounds. So he's done really well. He's done really well. So yeah, I hope that as a group we've managed to sort of put a few good fish on the bank, just to show you a bit of an insight into our social events. We do like it here, to be honest. We'd be lying if we didn't. So it's kind of like that we come back here. You know, we love the venue, we love everything about it, we love the owners, Darren and Yvonne, they're wonderful people. So yeah, we can't speak highly enough about the place. I'd highly recommend it to anybody who's looking at a week in France. You know, I mean, the fish that we've already caught this week, regardless of my efforts, it shows you the quality that's on offer at Redmill. So yeah, I'd like to think that we've done it justice with the video that we've produced. So yeah, I'll wrap up sort of worst case. You know, I'll see you again next time, and hopefully I can contribute a bit more to the videos. Best case, you may or may not see me through the night or early hours of the morning. Really happy that I've managed to nick a fish from gate. But like I said, I've done my best. I've put my rods out. They've all been absolutely, you know, perfect casts. Took 2 or 3 times to make them absolutely perfect. I've baited up. You know, I've even tried a little bit of particle to sort of get them grubbing round. I believe that they do like a bit of particle. So yeah, I've done my best, especially in the last 24 hours in this swim. But if it's to be, it's to be. If it's not, then it's not. But I'm just looking at the rods now, and you know, all I can do is kind of hope. So yeah, that's it from me. Like I said, you know, I won't see you again, or hopefully I will. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we shall see you next time. Good morning. You probably can't see it just yet, but the sun's coming up just behind my swim, sort of quite nicely, so we might get a good sunrise out of it. I know the last time I spoke to you, I kind of wrapped things up. I was always confident, you know, when you've got a rig in the water, you need to be confident. It's about 6:30 now. I've been up since 5:15. And yeah, my middle rod has absolutely melted off. It's took out my right rod in the process. They were fishing sort of at the same willow tree, just different size, but by the time it's picked up the slack, it's wiped out my right rod. Not that I give much. Yeah, sort of a bit of a hairy battle, you know, getting the first one of the week, to be fair. It's been 6 days of really hard graft. And I didn't think it was going to happen for me, but the move to gate on the last night to try and nick a bite, it's paid off. I've got one in the sling. It's certainly served me a blank, and definitely saved me some blushes from a bit of banter as well for, you know, the future ahead. So yeah, I mean, it's a good feeling, to be fair. A little less so that it didn't come from boom, where I'd worked and committed and tried so hard for. But I still give it my best in boom, and you know, I still don't regret not moving earlier. I think had I moved earlier, it probably would have pushed the fish around, but either way, I've got one in the sling, so we'll get him out, we'll get him on the mat, and for this time I definitely can say that you probably won't be having another update from me. So once again, I really thank you all for watching, and I hope you really enjoy sort of the video that we've put together. So yeah, thanks a lot. And we'll finally get him out on the mat and sign off on a really, really good note. There she is, 31 pound of Redmill mirror carp. It paid off that I sort of moved on the last night. I still don't regret moving earlier. I still think it would have ruined the fishing for somebody else. But it's nice to actually finally get a carp on the bank. And it's a great way to end my week. It's not as sort of been productive as I sort of wanted it to be, but she's very welcome nonetheless. Just want to sign out by saying thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you sort of liked the video that we managed to put together sort of this week. So yeah, we'll get her back and we'll see you on the bank sometime. That's it. Do a dance. Do a river dance.
Si plaintif dans sa longue agonie, un grand cri.
Good clap. Well, welcome to Redmill. I can't say well, I need to say that. Ridiculous. Good start, that, innit? What's wrong with that?
Hey, is there anything else that you'd rather be doing at this time of night?
I was halfway through a film.
Have you got focus yet? 10 months, pick it up.
Whenever you're ready.
Another one falls on the bark rig.
Smile, come on. Tell me how you caught him, one.
Catch on that.
Bread. It's nice.
Yeah.